Tov, or Mazel Tov, or Mazel Tov, Shemin Tov, Shemin Tov, or Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov, Simin tov, Simin tov, Mazel tov, Simin tov, Eyanu.
Thank you.
Yashkol Chazan.
Yashikoa.
Yashikoa.
The only difference is I don't think you wore glasses back then.
No, that's true. That's true.
Rabbi, we're recording whenever you're ready.
No, because I have to pay attention to the trop, because I mentioned it to you. That's not the way the trop was done when I was doing my Haftorah back a few years ago.
Why? Why was it different?
I'm getting, my wife is here, so she's in the background. You can't see her. And she wants, why was it different? Because there are different customs in different sections of Europe that had different melodies for the trop. For those of us who remember Alav Shalom Tibor Leibowitz, he used to do that trop that the Chazan did when he was young. So if you can remember back that far.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, I mean, obviously, you weren't here yet. We had a professor who was a member of our synagogue, and he was on sabbatical in England. And his son started doing the Haftorah. He was teaching them. He did part of it, or a good half of it, but the English way of the trop, which is completely different from us. Now he came back, and I have to start teaching him. I said, what am I going to do now? To have this way, have that way. So I had to learn the trop the way the English do it in order to stick to teaching him and doing the same after the same melody. And so that's what it is.
Yeah,
do it again.
I don't know why, but first of all, musically, I'm somewhat challenged. So the trop marks that we have in the Torah and the Haftarah, and for all of the special readings, Purim, which is going to be coming up, all the trop marks are exactly the same. What changes is the melody depending upon what the occasion is. And then there were, differences between minhagim for trop between particular communities, as the Chazan mentioned. So it's totally confusing.
Okay, the fellow's name was the kid, Paul, you remember, Dr. Grossman.
I thought it was standard.
No.
Dr. Grossman, Dr. Grossman. Yeah. He used to live across the street from the shul on Oakland Avenue.
Okay. Yoshikoch again, Chazan. This week's Torah portion, Mishpatim, begins with God commanding Moshe, Eile ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. These are the ordinances and rules that you shall set before them. Rashi comments that God is, I'm sorry. I forgot I wanted this to be recorded. Michael, if you would, please. I'll start in Midias Reish. Rashi comments.
It's going.
I'm sorry?
I'm recording.
Okay, thanks. Rashi comments that God instructed Moses not to teach the Israelites by rote, but to explain the reasons for the laws. If the people had the opportunity to study the reasons behind the laws, they would be more likely to internalize and fulfill them. Rashi's comments relate to Mishpatim, those ordinances that are apparent to reason and common sense. But what about chukim, laws whose reasons are not really apparent? Was Moses expected to offer reasons and explanations for these ceremonial ritual laws? Or was he to state the commandments and have the Israelites obey them, even if they did not understand the underlying reasons for them? In his Moreh Nevuchim, the guide for the perplexed, the Rambam Maimonides devoted serious discussion to the reasons for the mitzvot. He believed that since God is all-wise, all the mitzvot contain divine reason and divine wisdom. God's commandments aim at perfecting us, inculcating proper beliefs, and improving society. God would not issue commands in an arbitrary, unthinking manner. The Rambam writes, there is a group of human beings who consider it a grievous thing that reasons should be given for any law. What would please them most is that the intellect would not find a meaning for the commandments and prohibitions as an excuse for not adhering to them. He refers to the sickness in the souls of such people who prefer not to observe commandments that are outside rational derivation, rather than to imagine that God had reasons for giving these commandments. The Rambam insists every commandment from among the traditional 613 exists either with a view to communicating a correct opinion or to putting an end to unhealthy opinion, or to communicating a rule of justice, or to warding off an injustice, or to endowing human beings with a noble moral quality, or to warning them against following the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. The Rambam was displeased with those who thought that the Torah's teaching should be accepted without wisdom that comes from the spirit of the commandments. This tendency of mind leads inexorably to a shallow view of religion and even to superstition. A mind that is trained to accept information without the knowledge that comes from analyzing and at times even questioning it is a mind that can be controlled by demagogues. An early 20th century commentator offered a fascinating interpretation as to why the Torah often uses the phrase, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe lemor, and God spoke to Moses lemor, saying. The Torah added the word lemor to indicate that God did not want the words of Torah to be given in an absolute fixed form, but rather to be subject to discussion and explanation. The word lemor is, in a sense, an invitation to participate in the analysis of the text. Instead of demanding blind obedience, God invited all students of Torah to use their cerebral capacities to try to determine the intellectual truth and the divine spiritual truth as well. A thoughtful Judaism is an intellectual and spiritual journey that elevates us as Jews and as human beings. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Yashikoah.